So, the last phase that we need to start to consider is what happened after the peasant uprising. Well, Germany had Catholic princes, it had Protestant princes, uh, but what emerges pretty clearly is an uneasy form of peace that's kind of formalised by the thing called the Peace of Augsburg in 1550 by Charles V. And the simple reason that Charles V had to take his eyes off the troubles in Germany was that he was threatened by the Ottoman Empire. The Turks were literally banging on the gates of Europe. He had an ongoing war with Pope Clement VII. So there you've got the Holy Roman Emperor and the Pope firmly at loggerheads. And he was also fighting Henry II in France. So from the perspective of the Holy Roman Empire, Emperor rather, what was going on in Germany was it was huge, but it wasn't the main focus for him. And so what emerged for the peasants is something I think quite significant. First of all, they had the power in the Protestant areas to appoint clergy. The clergy could marry, nuns could marry. Luther, in fact, took a wife who was a former nun. The people could receive communion in both kinds, that is, the bread and the wine. And Bibles were placed in pulpits, and these Bibles were written in the German language. This is the power of the printing press. This is what Luther had used with his cartoons, his pamphlets, his books, and this massive work of his to translate the scriptures into the vernacular and allow the Bible to be interpreted by whomsoever. I think, of course, we get some pretty wacky solutions out of that. But at the same time, it's the principle of being allowed to interpret for oneself without pressure, without being told this is how to do it. But any educated person would seek advice on how to do it. So the dangerous idea is a necessary idea, in my opinion. And so the question that I want to put to you today is, what do you think might happen to the Protestant world in the future? Because in many respects, the classical Protestant world, the world of when Henry VIII took the Anglican Church into the Protestant world, that's a bit of a dicey one, but that's what he did. But all the people like the Baptists or their forerunners, the Anabaptists, who wouldn't have their infants baptized, who later on went to America and became people like the Amish and the Mennonites and so on. In this Protestant world, you've got Lutherans, you've got Calvinists, you've got Wesleyans, you've just got a whole heap of different religious groups. Is it ever possible to see a unity emerge in Protestantism when anyone and everyone has the right to interpret? So my main question is, will there ever be a unity amongst Protestants again? But I should just preface your discussion by saying, is there a unity amongst Catholic and amongst Orthodox? On the surface it might seem so. But I wonder what happens, particularly around the Catholic world. How unified is it really? And so those are big questions, but the one that we might be able to attempt is, what's the future hold for us as Protestants?